All right, that brings us to the co-main event now, as we have strawweights. Amanda Lemos coming in at plus 170, going up against Jillian Robertson, who comes in at minus 195. Now, just to note, this is a fight that was rescheduled after it had fallen off, I believe either from a December or January spot, but a fight day illness to Lemos caused the fight to get canceled, and obviously the UFC wanted to rebook it. Now here they are, both women healthy again, looking to throw down and scrap. So start off on the Lemos side of things, who is 38 years old, and she's coming off of a loss to Tatiana Suarez from back in September. She had a strong third round as Suarez started to slow, but we saw some good defensive grappling from Lemos to not get finished with those first two rounds against the heavy grappling style of Suarez. I don't think we'll ever see Lemos get back to a title fight, but she is always going to be a tough fight for fighters looking to break into title contention, or even to break into that top 5 to 7 range of the strawweight division. Obviously, things will start to slow sooner than later for her at 38 years old, but she relies heavily on her speed and power. But we also saw her rely on some grappling, as she did against Yasmin Lucindo. That was a fight where, a lot of people thought Lucindo was going to be able to out-grapple Lemos, but it was the other way around. Lemos utilized her strength and her grappling to keep Lucindo on her back, and she was able to win that fight on the scorecards pretty convincingly. Strong grapplers will be her kryptonite, but they need to have a good enough wrestling game, but they also need to have good enough physicality to get Lemos in those bad spots and keep her there. On the feet, big power, big speed. She has a decent submission game of her own as well. And we've seen fights, we've seen the Mackenzie Dern fight where she was able to thwart the grappling of Dern and land more damage to still win that fight on the scorecards. And then we've seen other fights where she gets submitted by a fighter like Verna Jandiroba, who is a very slick BJJ specialist as well. And obviously this weekend, she's going up against a very strong grappler who's in the best form of her career here in Jillian Robertson, who's on a 4-fight winning streak, finishing 2 of those matchups against Poliana Viana and then last time around against Marina Rodriguez. And that's, this is the best she's looked. She's 6-1 over her last 7 fights, something that not a lot of people are talking about, but more than reason why she should be fighting a former title challenger here in Amanda Lemos. She does a decent job in terms of getting to her grappling. She puts a stamp on her recent fights recently to get to her positions and smother those opponents. Prior to this 7-fight winning streak she's on, she went 7-5 through her first 12 UFC fights, really struggling to get some consistency to break into a position that she's currently at. And it's her lack of striking and questionable wrestling at times that has caused her issues. We know she's very uncomfortable in the striking game, so when she can't get her takedowns, she's often getting touched up and bloodied on the feet. And obviously, if fights end up hitting the scorecards, it's obvious who's going to end up getting their hand raised there. She's very tough to put away, so I'll give her some credit there. But she's definitely one of the better grapplers in the division. But I think her lack of physicality and strength will cause her issues against the top women in this division. I was surprised that she was able to get those positions against Rodriguez, but we know Rodriguez absolutely piss poor defensive grappling game. Now going up against Amanda Lemos here, tough fight for Robertson, and that's why I'm kind of surprised where Robertson finds herself at minus 195. A lot of people have confidence that Robertson can get this fight to the ground and get that submission against Lemos, but if she can't dictate the pace and control the grappling here, I think she's in some big trouble against Lemos, who I think is stronger and has the power to really inflict big damage on Robertson. I think so much so to the point that Lemos will stay safe enough on the ground, and then when they get back to the striking game, I think she'll get on the pressure and really land some big shots on Robertson to really contain and soften the type of approach Robertson will look to take. Robertson will always be on the gas looking to get takedowns, but once she starts feeling that power from Lemos and she starts failing on some of these takedowns, I think that's where we see Lemos really start to take over and land with big power, and I think she actually ends up winning this fight by knockout. So I'm going to go with the Brazilian here. I know she's getting up there in age. I know momentum is on Jillian Robertson's side, but this is all styles, how they clash. And I feel like in this one, Lemos has enough defensive grappling to shut that down from Robertson, keep this in the striking game, and eventually find that knockout and get her hand raised here to get back into the winning track. So give me Lemos and Lemos by knockout.